Hello friends, welcome back to Essay Perspectives after a hiatus of almost 2 months. Sorry, was busy with professional commitments. So from now onwards, we would restart the initiative. So the topic for today's video is creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes, art is knowing which ones to keep. Friends, as always, I have a personal request. Third edition of my book, Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude, has unfortunately been pirated. So I urge all the aspirants to buy original. Original copies can be bought by scanning the QR code or by clicking the link displayed on the screen. Friends, as always, this essay also has to be first conceptualized as being made of various components and subcomponents. So first we would introduce the essay, then we would discuss the essence of the topic, then we would talk about the difference between creativity and art, then we would discuss the relationship between creativity and art, then we would discuss as to how this concept can be applied in various domains, and then we would discuss as to how should one know where art should step into the journey of creativity. Then we would conclude. Friends, as soon as I saw this topic, I was reminded of the story of Intel. Friends, as most of us would be aware, Intel first started off as a memory chip maker. So it was into the business of making memory chips. So it was into Intel's credit that they initially came up with the 64-bit memory chip. Later, that itself was a creativity, right? All the engineers at the Intel came up with a technological marvel called 64-bit chip. So it was, I think, initially named as 1103, I believe. So later, they continued their path of creativity. They continued with the experiments. So from 64-bit chip, they came to 256-bit chip. Then they came to 1024-bit chip. That's how they started building. Their creativity went on improving themselves, and they finally became the behemoth in the field of memory chip business. But later what happened? So it's very interesting to note. So after this 10 years of leading the industry in the memory chips, suddenly Intel had to face very neck and neck competition from Japanese counterparts. So then Intel could not sustain the market. See, Intel could not compete with the Japanese manufacturers like Sony, who were able to make memory chips of very high quality at a fraction of the price at which Intel was selling its product. So then Intel had to sharpen its creativity. Intel had to continue in the path of creativity. So they came up with something called value added chips. So they started to create a niche in the memory chip business itself. But it was unfortunate that they could not compete with Japanese at all. So their new product of value added chips did not take off at all. So then it was a tough time for everybody at the Intel, because Intel meant memory chips. So but they realized that any amount of more creativity, any amount of making mistakes through creativity could not sustain. So they knew that they had to put a full stop to their creativity. So they had to think very differently. So it was then they made a watershed decision in the history of Intel and even in the history of semiconductor industry, if I may say so. Then they started focusing on what we call microprocessors. So the business which they conceived, which was almost synonymous with their identity, they had to stop that business and then switch to an altogether new domain called microprocessors. From memory chips they shifted to microprocessors. Friends, see, so this is where the role of art comes into the picture. See, creating 64-bit memory chip, then 256, then 1024-bit, and like that, improving the memory chip business at every stage is nothing but creativity. Correct, right? So every creativity, like they committed mistakes, they improved upon themselves, and they became better and better. But at one point of time, when they realized that then they came up with this value added chips, then they realized that this though the product was new, though the product was creative, they could not keep that product. So they had to shelve that product. So earlier when they created various different types of products, they were creative in creating new products, and they had the knack of art to keep those products. But when they came came at a juncture where this value added chips were made, then they realized that the continuing with that would actually lead company to doomsday. So then they had to shelve that and they had to shift to a new business. So thus creativity is creating, experiment something new. Art is knowing which experiments would become successful. Hope I have made sense, friends. Let's move on. Okay friends, after introducing the topic, it is time for us to understand the essay statement as a whole. Before understanding the essay statement as a whole, we have to understand the meanings of the key terms. This essay statement has three key terms. Number 1, creativity. Number 2, art. Number 3, mistakes. First, let us take creativity. What is creativity? Creativity is being fresh. Creativity is being original. Creativity is coming up with new ways of doing an existing thing, or coming up with an entirely new thing. That is creativity, right? Then what is art? Art essentially means expression of one's ideas, expression of one's imagination in a way that is acceptable to everyone, in a way that is useful to everyone, in a way that is pleasurable to anyone, in a way that is meaningful to everyone. That is art. Okay. So now let us take the third key term, which is mistake. Mistakes here represent attempts. Or endeavors or efforts, whatever you may call. So now let us bring all these three things together. So when we bring all these things together, what we can understand is that both creativity and art are attempts at doing multiple things, to doing new things. Correct? So basically creativity is allowing yourself to commit mistakes. That means your creativity sprouts, your creativity flourishes only when you keep on attempting something new. Regardless of the quality of outcome, regardless of the quality of product that would emerge out of your constant, consistent efforts, one should keep oneself moving. One should not be deterred by the fact that these attempts would lead to a substandard or suboptimal outcome. So that is creativity. So that means you attempt, you create something new regardless of the outcome, regardless of the quality of the outcome. So that is creativity. So that means creativity is allowing yourself to commit mistakes. Hope it has made sense. Now let us come to the next part. Why art is knowing which ones to keep. So under creativity you would experiment multiple things. Correct? Under art, you would know which experiment is beneficial. You would develop the knack to know which experiment has the potential to be expanded, which experiment has the potential to be upscaled, which experiment has the potential to be applied everywhere. Correct? So, or which experiment has the potential to be commercialized. Correct? So while under creativity you keep on attempting new things, the outcomes may be suboptimal, substandard, you don't care. But under art you essentially try to create something which is of very superior quality, which is useful and meaningful to everyone. Correct? So here the mere attempts, mere experimentation is creativity, but having that subjective knack as to, okay, so I have done all these experiments, which experiment has the potential to be upscaled? So that knack is what we call art. So hope I have clarified the meaning, friends. Let me illustrate to you. So you are all civil service aspirants. So every time civil service aspirant also would commit many mistakes. I would say would experiment multiple things. Would start coming up with newer ways of answer writing. Correct. Once let us say one aspirant has started. Has done multiple experiments in answer writing, like putting graphs, charts, etc., etc. In one test, in one mock test. In another mock test, he or she would have attempted to answer everything through bullet points. In another thing, he or she would have attempted to answer everything in small paragraphs. Correct? So this is creativity. There may be a number of other ways in which an aspirant would have tried to make his or her answer look better, appealable. But then the art comes in. So these are all the experiments. All experiments are good. You have done it. But if an aspirant knows, in essay, though this putting flowchart and all looks very appropriate for let us say GS answer in geography or so, but is it really appropriate in an essay? No, it's not appropriate, because essay expects us to explore things. Exposition. Essay is nothing but exposition. We have to express our thoughts through words, not through diagrams and pictures. So then that understanding would enable you to apply this experiment properly. Like you would use these flowcharts etc. in GS, but you would not use those flowcharts in essays. Correct? So thus this knack of what experiment, what creative thing to be used where is what we call art. So you have come up with multiple ways, but which one to be adapted for the actual exam is the art. So that is the subjective ability which one should carry. Okay friends, after understanding the essence of the essay statement, now it is important for us to understand the differences between creativity and art. What is the difference? Because that is the heart of the essay topic. Now you have to elaborate and explore. First thing is, while creativity represents multiple things, art represents the best thing. Correct? So under creativity, you try to do many things. You try to do this, you try to do that, you try to do X, you try to do Y, etc., etc. But whatever multiple things you do, multifarious things you do, need not have to be artistic. So only they need not have to be meaningful, need not have to have the potential to be upscaled, need not have to have the potential to be gainfully commercialized, whatever. So that is multiple things is creativity. But finally coming up with that one thing that makes sense, that can be gainfully commercialized, that can be that is meaningful to everybody, that is pleasurable to everybody is art. So that is best thing. Art is, so thus we can always say creativity is a value neutral thing. I do it for the heck of doing it, that's it. But art is a value loaded thing. I want to do the best thing. Correct? Let us take the example of amateur short film, movie makers in colleges. Okay, so there are always a group of students who are always excited by movie making in colleges, right? So they would be just doing some short 1 minute short movie, 2 minute short movie, 3 minute short movie, just for the heck of doing it. But if they have to just put that in the YouTube and they have to commercialize it, earn money out of it, or use it as a platform to get more opportunities, then all these things which they do randomly would not work, right? So they may have done n number of short movies, but only that one short movie which becomes viral on the YouTube or Instagram, or which brings them fame, name, opportunities, is art. So that is the difference between, so this is multiple things, that is the best thing. Also friends, the second difference is, while creativity focuses on process, art focuses on product. So that means creativity may, it is process of doing thing. The emphasis is never on the ultimate product, because whatever product comes, I will try doing this. I don't care whatever marks I get, but this is how I try to answer this mock test. Correct? So that is process. But art always focuses on the ultimate product. So that is the another difference. In other words, creativity means the focus is only on doing. You should do something, whether it benefits or not, you should keep doing something. but art is final product. So let us again apply civil services experience. If if you are a civil service aspirant who is like reading book 1 today on history, book 2 tomorrow on history, and start watching a video on YouTube day after tomorrow on again history, etc. Then again you attend a class on history, then again you start listening to an audio book on 4th day, etc., etc. These are all creative ways of doing it, different processes in which you have attempted to learn history, correct? But what is that is creativity. But when will the art come? So when only you realize that, okay, this is the best book, I will read this book, I'll read this rather than reading 4 books, I will read this one book multiple times to understand. So that is finally what I am expecting, is that crystal clear understanding of history is what I am expecting. So that end product I would get only by reading one book multiple times. So this understanding is art. Again you read this, read that, etc., etc. You would be doing processes, you are creative, but you will not end up clearing the exam, correct? Then similarly friends, creativity need not have to make any sense, but art has to essentially make some sense. So that means again art has to be useful, creativity need not have to be useful, need not have to be useful. Okay, so I'll just give you another example. Let us say you are a marketing executive of in a company that produces toothpastes, correct? So you want to increase the sales of the toothpaste by doing some rejig in the product itself, the nature of the product. You want to change, do some effect, some changes. So in this, let us say you wanted to come up with something new, something unconventional to make people buy your product. Then you say, okay, let me do a black toothpaste, black color toothpaste. It is creative, it's a new way, original, fresh idea. No one has ever thought about black color toothpaste, correct? So that is creative. But is it art? No. Why? Because everyone on this earth has white tooth. The objective of any toothpaste is to make that tooth whiter. So, but by creating a black toothpaste, would you be able to appeal to the customers to buy that? No, right? So they would get, it is awful. It's an awful idea. It's a creative one, but awful idea. Then what? Then that is a creative thing. It need not have to make sense. Then what is that thing that should make sense? Then maybe you can come up with a toothpaste with multicolor, like sober colors like white and light green, white and light pink, white and light green, light blue, whatever. So that actually may be like, okay, it leads to a visual appeal to the customers. So the moment they see that, they feel that rather than having a white toothpaste, they have multicolor, but it is sober, they may prefer. Correct? So that is art. Having a black toothpaste is not art, it's just creative, because it is not making any sense. So essentially creative attempts need not have to make any sense, but artistic attempts should essentially make some sense. Then attachment versus dispassionate assessment. See friends, whenever you are doing something as a creator, you have unknowingly got yourself attached to that very product that you have created. So your judgment, your prudent judgment would get obscured, obfuscated by the mere fact that you are the creator and you share that attachment with that product, correct? But as an artist, you should not have that attachment. You should have the dispassionate assessment. Maybe I have written this song, but if this song is not good, I should be able to dump this and go to another new song. I should tweak, correct? So a person, a creator would stop at creating something and he would just try to hang himself to that idea. No, this idea is good, I will just do this. But an artist is not so. He would be like, even if he is the one who has created a product, if he notices some deficiencies in it, and if he is able to, if somebody brings to his notice the deficiencies in it, then he would accept it and he would shelve that product and go to a new one, attempt something new. So that is what is essential. A creator always has attachment to the product. An artist should or mostly has dispassionate assessment of the product. Then lastly, creativity is mostly mistakes and art is mostly perfection. So this is almost the same as multiple things versus best thing, but so what I'm just trying to tell you is, in creativity you are allowed to make mistakes, it's okay, but in art you should strive to do perfections. That means you may have come up with some product, even if that product you are created, the product that you have created is being accepted by everyone, appears to be good, but still, being an artist, you should still try to make a perfect version of itself. So you should not just stop at that level only. Okay, friends, after understanding the difference between creativity and art, it is time for us to understand the relationship between creativity and art. Okay, the first point is creativity precedes art. So that means, so creativity is the precursor to art. So a person has to attempt multiple times in order to come up with something of very high quality. Correct, right? So it is not that Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci on the very first day, or nor is it his first painting. So before he created a masterpiece like Mona Lisa, he would have created many substandard paintings. Or of course, we cannot call, I'm sorry for that word, substandard, but in relation to Mona Lisa, perhaps the other paintings would not fare that well. Correct. So that's only when you keep on attempting something, then you would end up with the best thing. Thus, creativity precedes art. I always feel the best example to this is pager to mobile. Correct. So all of us are aware, after this telephones, after this landline telephone revolution, so next came pager. Pager was not a very big hit. All of us are aware. It used to just say that somebody is trying to contact you, so you should go and call them back. Correct. It was not that successful. But however, that was creativity that preceded mobiles. But mobiles became successful. So always this creativity precedes art. Another thing, creativity kindles art. So that means it is creativity that motivates a person to do something great, something efficient, something effective, like art. It essentially means a creative person who is in the creative field, who is trying multiple things, would only have the knack to create something better, something greater. Others who are not in this field would not do that. So first, it is only art is kindled by creativity. Let us take the example of chefs. Only if you are a chef, you are trying cooking every day, then you would do some mix and match and you would come up with a new recipe. Correct. If you are not a cook, if you don't cook every day, suddenly you go to kitchen someday and you try to create some exotic recipe for yourself, would not work. So it is only when you are a chef and you are trying, you are cooking some dishes every day, suddenly you will have some moment at some point of time and you would come up with a new recipe altogether. Correct. Then creativity makes art better. It is slightly counterintuitive to the discussions that we have already made. So we have always said that art is the ultimate pinnacle of perfection or whatever. But now we are saying that creativity makes art even better. Yes, that is true. It is an interesting thing. So because this journey of creativity culminating in art is not a unidimensional journey, or it is not a limited journey. So it's a continuous one. So or we can say it is a contiguous one. So it would stop at some particular point of time, then it would start and it would continue. So it is only that creativity that would make art better. So for example, jailbird invented some television. Okay, it was a very rudimentary television. Of course, it was art at that particular point of time. So it was able to stream some pictures, videos, etc., etc. Then suddenly someone else came up with this cathode ray tube television. And somebody else came and they came up with something color television. Someone else came, they came up with flatron TV. Someone else came and they created OLED, QLED, every different types of television. Are all these things created by jailbird? No. So jailbird came up with this idea of television. So thus, when jailbird invented television, that itself was an art. But later the creativity of other people made this art better and better and better over a period of time. Next, creativity provides a fertile ground for more art. This is a very interesting thing. See, I'll just explain you through example, friends. So let us first take the technology of clocks. Earlier there was hourglass. Then came analog clock. From analog clock, people created digital clocks, correct? So simultaneously, let us take this telephone technology. Earlier it was landline technology. Then came cardless phones. Then came mobile phones. Then came smartphones, correct? So here, these two altogether different technologies were being developed in different contexts, correct? But later, somebody brought these two things together. This digital watch and smartphone technology was brought together, and the feature of clock is incorporated in smartphones. So you have alarm, you have stopwatch, you have reminders, whatnot. So thus, this is like this it is only creativity, right? It is the creativity that motivated people to think of migrating to digital watch from analog watch. It is the creativity that motivated people to migrate from a landline telephone to mobile telephone. It is the creativity of some person that brought digital watch and mobile phone together. So thus, these three creativities created an art, which is the feature of clock in smartphones. Correct? So thus, it is creativity that provides fertile ground for more art. Then, no art without creativity, but not the other way around. Correct, friends? So that means art is the bedrock. Sorry. Creativity is the bedrock. So that means you keep doing something. Whatever you do, need not have to become the best. So that means the best, without doing this basic thing, the best will not happen. But without the best, some rudimentary things will be there, right? So thus, creativity is an independent variable, art is a dependent variable on creativity. Then, art raises the level of creative sojourn. It's an important thing, friends. Let us try to understand this. See, that means creativity would be traveling in the linear path to travel to a finest destination, correct? So that finest destination is what we are calling art. Then interestingly, once that finest destination is reached, this art would actually try to push creativity to a higher plane. So I'll just explain it to you, okay, through an example, through an illustration. So earlier, so all this computing, etc., was being done on computers, correct? Those earlier days, those computers used to be like in one big first generation computer, second generation computers, etc., that all of us are aware. So there people were like attempting very hard to bring a computer of a manageable size, and that's how personal computers were invented. So that was the journey of computing technology on a linear plane, correct? So it culminated with personal computers. This art, finally, since it culminated with personal computers, I would call this art, all that attempt I would call, all those attempts and efforts leading to this personal computer, let us call creativity. So then that desktop computers, personal computers did not stop there. Then people wanted to have the personal computers that one can carry wherever one goes. So then that creative thought pushed the people to have a creative journey on a higher plane. That means all these days they were just trying on level 0 and they ended at one point. Now this thought of having a mobile, having on the go systems, so made them to think on a higher plane, that is level 1 rather than level 0. So there multiple things came. The computer laptops came, the laptops of various versions came, microprocessors came, and whatever. So finally that culminated at one point, let us say that got culminated at tab. Then again creativity sprung to another level where we have smartphones. Now everything that was earlier being done on desktops, now we are doing on smartphones. So thus it is the art that pushes the level of creative sojourn. So you stop it here and then you go to the next level. Same is the case with teachers, friends. So let us say you are a newbie teacher. Initially you would start explaining everything on the board using some graph, some two-dimensional graph. You would try to draw something using chalk piece or some pen, etc., whatever, marker, whatever actually. So that is how you try to make good of it. Then suddenly someday you realize that rather than me writing on the board, I will have to make some charts and show them. So that charts you would start bringing, you first draw charts through you, then you would go to bookshops and you would take pictures, you would try to paste those pictures on the chart and show to the children to make them understand. So that is another level. Then after a few days you think that why am I doing this two-dimensional thing, I can do a three-dimensional thing. Then you try to make real life models of eye, heart, blah blah blah. So that is next level. Then you would think, this model also has its own limitations. Why should I not go for this audio visual AV picture representation of this organ so that kids would understand better. So that's how every culmination would push creativity to a higher plane. Okay. Then friends, after understanding the relationship between creativity and art, it is time for us to see where all this is applicable. See friends, our intuition says that this creativity and art are restricted to only, let us say, painting, fine arts, painting, music, then painting, music, or even lyrics, so origami, paper craft, clay modeling, etc., etc. So that's how our mind thinks. Sand art, correct? But it's not so. Interestingly, this creativity and art has applications across every domain. So for example, businesses, we can see creativity and art playing out art in businesses as well. I have already given you the example of Intel, how it shifted from memory chip business to microprocessor business. So I think I have already given you one good example of how creativity and art function in business context. The second domain where this creativity and art function are civil society. Basically, civil society is an independent group that seeks to enlist government's accountability to public right. They fight on a particular issue, they try to get favorable laws, and they try to have the framework for the effective implementation of for the effective redressal of their issues. That is what civil society broadly. So here, how civil society, how creativity and art plays its role. So the best example is So initially civil society would try to bring the issues to the notice of the government through petitions, etc., etc. That is one level. Then rather than just writing the issue, the second level they would start adducing their petitions with solid evidence to prove their point. Maybe they would do this through graphs, through statistical studies, so through case studies, so through real life illustrations, etc. So that's the second stage. Then they would try to make it a point. So then they would try to create public opinion around it. How would they try to do that? They would try to write articles in the newspapers. They would start doing dharna. They would try to make short movies on the same, and then try to make them viral. They would request a social media influencer or some YouTuber to make an episode on that issue. So that like that they can do signature campaigns. So multiple things they can do. So basically, so by all these attempts are finally creative ways of getting the government's attention. But it would actually whatever endeavor, whatever action that finally makes the government come down, listen to them, and try to address their issue. That is what I would call art. Okay. Then comes governance. Even in the governance, friends. So civil society, you are looking from the other side. Let us look on the side of the government. So even on the side of the government, there is always this creativity and art tussle going on. For example, let us take the example of alleviating malnutrition. So ensuring that every child is properly nourished. So with this motive, initially the government experimented with this. So the government realized that the proper nutritious food is not being served to every family. So they came up with this PDS system initially, like public distribution system, wherein proper ration is given to every deserving family. Food security is ensured so that there is no hunger deaths. So there is a reduction in malnutrition with that idea. Then they suddenly realized that maybe we are trying to reduce the hunger deaths, but it is not providing requisite nutrition to the children. So they started providing ration separately at the schools to every child. But that experiment did not sustain for long. They realized that if something they want the child to consume, then but child is not eating it. It is being shared by everybody in the family. So that intended purpose is not getting served. Then that creative experiment was shelved. Then the government came up with this midday meal scheme where child can eat at the school itself. So thus nutritional intake is ensured. Correct. So and then even think of this micronutrients also. Government initially tried to this micronutrient deficiency. In order to tackle that micronutrient deficiency, tried multiple things. So nothing worked out. Then finally it came up with this idea of fortified rice, where these micronutrients are mixed with the rice. So then finally it is given as a part of public distribution system. Correct. So and another example is iodized salt also. Goiter was a major problem. How could you supplement iodine to every household? The best way was to mix it with salt. So that became a hit. So that's an art. So all other steps are creativity, and that step is art. Then normal life. Friends, this creativity, art, everybody experiences even in the normal mundane life also. Let's take the simple example of meal or breakfast preparation at houses. So initially, without any, the people would start randomly whatever is available. Let us say that the dish is being cooked. Then finally, one point of time, you realize that I am just eating idlis at least twice a week, or I am eating dosas thrice a week. I am eating parotas very often, and I am not eating anything else. I am eating more rice. I am eating very less sweet. So finally you want to have a balanced diet. Then what you would do? So then you come up with a diet chart. That diet chart you try to have, okay, I will eat this on this day, I will eat this on this time. So this diet chart would eventually help you to have balanced diet. So that is art. That diet chart, the concept of diet chart itself is art. So all other attempts are creativity. Like whatever is available, I will cook. That is creativity. Whatever my taste buds demand, I will cook. That creativity. Whatever my children cry, demand for, I will cook that for them. Creativity. But having a diet chart is art. So that's how even this creativity and art plays out in the normal life as well. Then friends, so friends, now we have spoken enough about creativity and art. But have you realized there is, you would be attempting something. There should be some point, right, where you say that, okay, this is a very good product. This is not a suboptimal one. I have attempted enough. I think this works. I think I should upscale this. So how do you get that sense? That sense itself is artistic sense, correct? How do you get that sense? Normally that sense comes with self-experience. So you have tried one thing, you have created something, you have tried implementing it, it has not worked out, then you try something else. So whatever works, whatever does not work, this only comes by self-experience. If you see that movie industry, so which movie performs well at box office, which movie does not perform well at box office, there would be some box office pundits, right, who have been in the movie industry, so they would have this sense, okay, this is what people like, this is what people would not accept. Of course, that the conventional wisdom also gets broken at times, but still, broadly, that's how it is. So, that knack one person develops only by self-experience. Second, others' experience. Of course, you keep reading books, you keep reading others' biographies, autobiographies. So then that also gives you some perspective as to what would work, what would not work finally. So your experience and others' experience. Third, pilots. See, whether it is self-experience or other experience or again unscientific ways of deciding whether a particular creation would become successful or not. What is the scientific way that would tell you these experiments would not work, so you stop these experiments and you go to the next experiment? That is pilots. That means pilot study, not the pilot who flies the plane, but the pilot studies. So pilot studies mein you experiment it in a small sample. If it works, you would take it. If it does not work, you would shelve it. So you may be surprised, friends, all these advertising campaigns, even election campaigns also for that matter, even the slogans that we see in the political campaigning, all these slogans are initially tested by these political consultancies. So they take that slogan, they'll release that slogan to WhatsApp groups, to Facebook groups of various ages. So thus they expose small groups to this, and they would see how the people react. So if the slogan is catchy, if everyone starts liking it, sharing it, so then they would say, okay, this is something which we should harp on, which we should implement. So thus that sense of deciding which one will become successful gets accentuated through pilot studies. Then observation. Friends, nothing like observation. I have always, even in my personal life, I have always believed, if you are a keen observer, you observe things around, then somehow you develop this sense of what will work, what will not work. Okay. So thus this is broadly the concept of creativity, allowing you to commit mistakes, and art allowing you to know which one to keep, which one to discard. Correct, friends? So after this elaborate discussion, it is time for conclusion, friends. So from the above discussion, we can conveniently conclude that art is the subjective ability that stops a person intermittently in the regular path of creative sojourn and pushes him or her to higher path of creative sojourn. Okay, friends. So we'll be back with another topic next week. Thank you. All the best.